Hello and welcome to class. Here we go. It's week number 7. We are approaching the end for this particular class, and I'm very pleased with the progress that we've been making so far. So we're going to go over the assignments for this week. We're going to be changing topics slightly, and that's why I have my map of the world up there. We're going to be going international. We're going global. So the first assignment is a discussion question, and here I've assigned a journal article reading. However, the reading is pretty much applied. It's going to have to do with the examination of a couple of different mergers and acquisitions in the automobile industry. The first one between Renault and Nissan, which was successful so far, and then the second, the Daimler-Chrysler potential merger with Mitsubishi, which failed. And the idea behind reading these articles is to understand how leadership must adapt to different cultural expectations, standards, ways of negotiating, a whole variety of different things that's going to open up a whole new avenue of research for us in the leadership area. Okay, so what you need to do is first read the article, get the article and read it thoroughly, and as you're seeing now with our discussion getting a little more intense, you really need to know what's in the article. Maybe not statistics or the nitty-gritty details of how the study was conducted, but you should certainly know the conclusions and also the areas that opened up for new research. You should begin to see, what are the main issues that the study is looking at, and then also what the conclusions were. Okay, so this should help us understand what some issues are going to be related to global management. But in addition to the article that's assigned, I'd like you to also look several other articles related to international organizations, and especially theories that go along with global leadership and dealing with different cultures in different countries. Now you can look up specific articles related to these two mergers, and you'll probably find quite a bit about those in popular press. And that's not a bad thing for your background. However, it does not satisfy the requirements for the peer-reviewed academic articles that you need to have. And I'll talk a little bit about this later on as I talk about the paper, but really you should begin to see that when we talk about a company or we talk about a specific leader, we're not so much interested in that one company or that one person. That person or company is simply an example of a theory that we're trying to understand and then apply in that particular situation. So we can't get all wrapped up about talking about an individual or one particular company. Really, we're concerned with the bigger picture of how this individual or company exemplifies or doesn't exemplify a particular theory of leadership. Okay, so really that's what we're looking for, is the other articles, the peer-reviewed journal articles. So you're going to read the article, and then you're going to pull out of the articles that you read what the important cultural issues are for any global leaders to be aware of as they move into new markets and start dealing with other countries and other legal systems, other governmental systems, cultural differences with regards to food and music, expectations with regards to how much money somebody should have, economic differences. So there's a whole variety of things that I, hopefully you'll find interesting and we'll be exploring in some of our future classes. Now I've tied Week 7 discussion into the Week 7 paper fairly closely. For the paper assignment, you're going to be, again, looking for a successful company, but as I just said, the company itself, you can choose McDonald's if you want, is not really what we're interested in. We're interested in how that company is an example of the theories that people talk about, have researched about how a company is successful in international markets. That's what we're really interested in, whether you talk about Boeing or Microsoft or Kentucky Fried Chicken, really doesn't matter. It's how you apply that particular example to the theories that we're talking about. So you're supposed to write a 5 to 7 page paper, and the page numbers are suggestion. This is not a 25-page paper. This isn't a 2-page paper. It's somewhere in the 5 to 7 range. If you go a little longer, that's fine. If you go a little shorter, that's okay. But these page numbers do not include your reference list. They don't include your cover page. If you use a separate page for your abstract, it doesn't count that. This is the body of your paper, starting with the introduction through the conclusion. It should be in this page length. You're going to be describing the company and what strategies they use to go global, and then you're going to be looking at more specifically the areas that I mentioned when talking about the discussion, that different countries have different social arrangements, different countries have different legal arrangements, different countries have different ethics. The whole idea of corruption and payoffs and bribes and things like that is different from country to country. Political situations. Some countries are highly unstable. Some countries are stable. Economics. Now, you can hardly address all these in an exhaustive fashion in a 5 to 7 page paper, and I understand that. So depending on the company that you choose and depending on the countries that you want to examine them operating within, you may pick 1 or 2 of these that seem to be particularly relevant and drill down on that and get very specific with regards to if you're going to, everybody knows that if you go to do business in Russia, you're going to be confronted by a lot of corruption to the extent that we couldn't even imagine here in the United States. Okay, so how do you deal with that? How is this company successful in dealing with ethical dissimilarities between the United States and Russia, for example? Okay, so then you've got to explain why these factors are crucial and what the company might do to be more effective. Okay, well, you've already chosen a successful company, so they're probably doing things the right way anyhow. Now, I reiterate, we're really interested in the literature that you find, the peer-reviewed literature that you find to support your contentions about this particular company. This company is simply an example to allow you to illustrate which theories you think apply. Okay, you'll hear that a lot. So, to do this, you should choose a well-known, successful international company that you're going to be able to find something about their strategy and something the way they approached entering international markets. Do not use the same ones we use for the discussion. You should be able to find something else, a different company. Choose an industry that you're interested in, whether it's entertainment industry, whether it's software industry, defense, whatever. Then, of course, look at some more journal articles. You may find that you need to go into the trade journals and into the popular press to find good write-ups about the company you want to talk about. You may not find that in the academic journals, and that's fine. But just remember, that's just to get us started, and really we're interested in looking at the theories that apply to global companies. Describe the strategy that has brought the company success. How were they able to do it when others weren't? And then what are the key cultural issues which were addressed in the company's strategy? And here we go back over to the social, the legal, the ethical, the political, the economic, where those are different from company to company, country to country. Excuse me. Okay, so the keys to success for week number 7. And the theme to Rocky indicates we are getting near the end of this particular class, and it's time to run up that last flight of stairs, beat up that last beef carcass, and make the stretch to the end. First of all, pay attention to the suggestions and comments that I leave in your papers and in our discussions. The discussions have been getting much better. We're talking about the right things. We're paying attention to what each other is saying, and I find that all very useful attempting to teach the class. You can use popular press and books, but only when it's necessary. Remember that the companies and individuals that we're looking at are just examples that we're using to illustrate the theory. So in another way, we should start with theory and then find a company or an individual that illustrates that. Use the page requirements as just suggestions. You can go a little longer, you can go a little shorter. But it's not a 2-page exercise, it's not a 25-page exercise. And finally, just a word about how you should kind of organize your time. You'll be writing a paper for week 7 and also another paper for week number 8. Generally, for these research-type papers, you should plan to spend 30% of your available time reading and doing the research, 30% of the time writing the draft, and then 40% of the time right up until the very end, reviewing, revising, proofreading, making corrections, reviewing, revising, proofreading. You should not be turning in papers that have obvious misspellings, grammar errors, lack of consistency between subject and verb. Those are things that your high school teacher tells you about. You shouldn't be turning those in at a doctoral level. Okay, if you have any questions, get in touch with me, and I will see you next time. Goodbye and good luck.